So in the previous lecture, we were looking at the motivation behind cascode amplifiers. We said that the idea of cascode amplifiers, or the genesis of the idea of cascode amplifiers, began with vacuum tube amplifiers. The problem with vacuum tube amplifiers was that there was a capacitance between the output terminal. I mean, in MOSFET, you can call it as a drain terminal and gate and source. I mean, I'm just giving a comparative terminology for MOS and vacuum tubes. So there was a capacitance between gate and the grid terminal and anode terminal. And this capacitance, because there was a huge voltage across the capacitor, appeared as a really large capacitance as seen at the input. So this is what we discussed in the last class. And because it's a large capacitor, the input is the only source from which the charge for this charging the capacitor had to come from. So therefore, generally, if your source resistance Rs happens to be really large, the time constant at the input was increasing significantly. If the input time constant increases, then the system becomes slower. I use the word slower. The system becomes slower, which means the amplifier will no longer be able to amplify high frequency signals. That's the fundamental problem we discussed in the last class. And I said that one of the first inventions in 1920s, 30s was called the pentode. So what they did was that the problem was a capacitance between this anode and the grid terminal. So they introduced one other terminal in between, another metal plate called screen grid, and they held it at some bias potential. This was held at some fixed bias. So as far as AC signal is concerned, you can see this to be at AC ground. Now, do you see that? See, what I have done here is, imagine you had a parallel plate capacitor, and I introduce another plate in between, and I ground this plate. So will there be a capacitance between these two plates? So let's assume this is A, G, and some S. Will there be a capacitance between A and G? You have a parallel plate capacitance. I'm introducing a plate in between. So do you think, will there be if I ask you what is the total capacitance between A and G, what will you say? See, S is at ground. So let's assume that you apply some voltage here. All the field lines probably will end on S itself, right? From G to S, the field lines will end. As I think if you know a basic parallel plate capacitor, if you see a basic parallel plate capacitor, what would the capacitance is proportional to epsilon A upon D. Okay, but now I'm introducing a plate in between and I'm grounding the plate. Remember this? I'm grounding the plate. So no, two capacitors in parallel, no. That is if I've shorted A and G. They are not two capacitors in parallel. So between A and G, there is no capacitance. So for example, you can visualize that if some field lines start from A and end on G, then you have some capacitance. Is that okay? If you have some field lines starting from A and ending on G, then you will have some capacitance between those two plates. But here, because of the presence of S, all the field lines are going to end in S itself. So between A and G, then you will not see any effective capacitance. So that's the way this problem is solved. But then we said pentode was a quick solution to fix that problem in a traditional vacuum tube amplifier. But that introduced a new problem, that is, it increased the noise. The noise was going higher. So in 1930s, the engineers had again they connected, instead of connecting conventionally, they used to connect the anode. This is like your drain terminal to gate. So this is like a cascade of common source. The symbol is different, but this is just a vacuum tube amplifier in common cathode configuration. So this is a common cathode configuration. They cascaded a common cathode with another common cathode. And generally that was the way amplifiers were cascaded. But instead, if you cascaded it this way, you connect the anode to the cathode, then this was actually giving you a wider bandwidth. I mean, the speed was you could amplify. I'm sorry, I'm using the word wider bandwidth. You will probably understand it once we go to frequency response. But right now, what it means is that you'll be able to amplify high frequency signals. That's the advantage of connecting anode to cathode. So this cascade of an anode and a cathode terminal is what was called cascode amplifier. And I also discussed one definition, or where did this name probably originate. And I told you that I couldn't find that source. It was written this way. It said cascaded triode amplifier having characteristics similar to but less noisy than a single pentode. Its characteristic is it emulates the behavior of a pentode, which means there is less capacitance between input, there is very low input capacitance. At the same time, the noise is less. So that was the advantage of this configuration called Cascode. Now you should understand this is almost 100 years ago. This idea was the idea of Cascode had originated almost 100 years ago. And so to explain it, I took MOSFETs to show you what exactly happens. So I took an example of a Cascode amplifier built using MOS devices. We said that if you take a common source, common gate cascade, so which is what a cascode is, the input capacitance that's being seen, the effective input capacitance, previously it was C into 1 plus GMRL in the case of a common source configuration, but now the input capacitance seen will just be 2C because the intermediate node here will be at a voltage of minus Vi. So the net capacitance seen at the input will be just 2C itself, which is much smaller than C into 1 plus GMRL. I took an example. If GMRL is 100, 1000, you will see roughly 1000 times multiplied capacitance. Even if C is small, this multiplication factor will increase it significantly. So this effect of increased input capacitance is what we call Miller effect. Okay, we will revisit Miller effect when we go to frequency response. I just introduced you to this problem of increased capacitance, and later we will see when we go to frequency response what effects does it have. Now, so I just took an example. So finally we compared, this is a common source configuration and this is a cascode configuration. The advantage of cascode over common source is the reduced input capacitance. Input capacitance is just 2C in case of cascode, when comparably which is much larger in case of a common source, which is 1 plus A times C, a much larger value. But the DC gain is roughly the same. The DC gain is just GM times RL. The DC gain in case of a common source is just GM times RL, and even in a cascode it is GM times RL. So where do we get the gain? The gain we are getting here is, the advantage we are getting here is in terms of the reduced input capacitance. So this was a high frequency, or I'm using the word bandwidth. Bandwidth just tells you the range of frequencies for which your amplifier can faithfully amplify the input signal. So that's the range of frequencies for which your amplifier can faithfully amplify your input signal. And that bandwidth is much higher for a cascode configuration. So it fixed the problem of low bandwidth, or not the common source amplifiers. There was a problem of amplifying high frequency signals that could be fixed by going for a cascode amplifier. And the problem is usually amplified if your source resistance happens to be very large. If your RS happens to be really large, then cascode definitely helps a lot. So that's what we discussed in the previous lecture. So here I've shown the three configurations. So this was almost in 1930s. So BJT became popular in 1950s. 60s and 70s onwards, MOSFET became popular. In fact, BJTs existed, were still popular. ICs were built using BJTs. Even today, we still have BJT ICs. But MOSFET has completely taken over. So digital design exploded in 1970s, 80s when we perfected the integrated circuit design. When we perfected how to manufacture integrated circuits, after that digital design exploded in 1980s and so on. Okay, so when digital design exploded, naturally MOSFET was preferred over BJTs. And the thing with analog designers is that today most systems are not standalone analog. We don't build ICs which are standalone analog systems. Most systems are mixed signal systems. So where you have, so generally if you open up your, even your cell phone, there is usually a very big digital signal, digital chip. And sometimes analog is also embedded, so you will have some 10 to 20% of it will be analog. So because of that, by purely for economic reasons, if I'm going to use CMOS for digital, I'll be forced to use CMOS for analog as well. Okay, what is analog system? I mean, for example, you can take an example of your cellular phone. So that's the common device that we use. So when I say analog system, I'm referring to the circuits inside a cellular phone as an analog system. So for example, if you're going, what does your cell phone do? It has an internal microphone. Whatever you're going to speak on the cell phone's microphone, that will be converted into an analog signal. That signal will then be converted to digital signal. It will be converted to digital. You will see how to convert it to digital signal. Probably they'll teach you a little bit of in signals and systems. And next semester in DSP, you will know how to convert and process an analog signal into a digital signal. So then we'll have a digital design here. And after that digital design, finally you will be transmitting the signal in the air, so which is an analog signal again. For that, you will have some other analog components, which will analog and RF components, which will convert it to an RF signal, or rather a high frequency signal, which can be transmitted via an antenna. Okay, so this entire thing, I'm calling it as a system. I'm just calling it a bunch of functionalities of analog operations. I'm calling it as a system. So what I'm trying to tell you is that today most of the systems will be mixed. It will have analog components. When I say analog components, it will have amplifiers, filters. These are all analog filters. These are analog components. When I say digital components, they will be mostly your gates, digital logic gates. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say analog and digital system. What I'm saying is most of your systems are mixed systems. You'll have some analog, some digital. So you'll have some amplifiers, filters, and you'll also have some uh, digital components. So look at your motherboard. For example, if most of you must have seen your motherboard. Motherboard has one processor. That's the biggest digital system in the motherboard. And there will also be some small analog components even in the processor. Okay, so we'll talk about that later, but let me just come back to the topic now. See, you have a lot of time to understand this. We'll probably towards the end of the semester, I'll talk in much greater detail about this. Let me just finish this. Okay, so I have shown the cascode configuration using a vacuum tube amplifier, a BJT device, and a MOS device. So you see the idea of cascoding remained the same, but the device has changed from vacuum tubes to BJTs and BJTs to MOSFETs. But the whole idea was the same across the devices or the new device architectures. Now, I'll try to give a different interpretation for cascode amplifiers, which is more useful for our course on integrated circuits. So you should understand that what cascode amplifiers, when it was introduced or invented as an idea, this was in 1920s, where amplifiers were just being explored, and so they were trying to come up with ideas of extending the bandwidth and all of that. But today, when we go to integrated circuits, so there are two things. One is integrated circuits within a single chip. So today we have big systems. A lot of functionality can be enclosed within a single chip. In the past, it used to take up a really large space. All that can be shrunk into a very small space today. Okay, so from an integrated circuit point of view, we can look at cascode slightly differently, not the way we saw right now. The reason for genesis of cascode is to extend the bandwidth. So that's how the idea was invented, to extend to build an amplifier which can amplify high frequency signals. That was the motivation previously. But now we will see that a different interpretation for cascode amplifiers, which is more suited for an integrated circuit. In integrated circuit, generally, let's say your RS is not very high. If your RS is not very high, then that might be the case in integrated circuits. Then how do we look at cascode amplifiers? What role does it play here? So that's what I'll discuss right now. So first, any circuit comprising of MOSFETs, a complex analog circuit comprising of MOSFETs, can be represented as far as the output is concerned, it can be represented by an equivalent Norton circuit, which is nothing but a current controlled, voltage controlled current source with a resistance in parallel. So GM here is your short circuit transconductance. How do you measure GM? Short circuit the output and measure the current. So this will be GM times VI. I can represent it this way. So can I write my input voltage as the product of GM R out into VI? So I can now write my input voltage as a product of GM into R out into VI. So now the voltage gain is given by V naught by VI is given by GM times R out. Right? So this is the product of voltage gain, which will be your short circuit transconductance multiplied by output resistance. Yes, so if you want to find, see what is this? This is your any MOS based circuit can be represented as a current source in parallel with a resistance as far as the output is concerned. Right? That's just a standard Norton representation. Of course, the current source here will be proportional to the input. Okay, it's a voltage controlled current source. Is that fine? So, yeah. Now we have an expression for voltage gain, which is the product of GM into R out. So now if I want to increase my voltage gain, what should I do? Yeah, it's minus GM R out. Yes, I mean for the polarity I have shown here, it should be minus. Yes, I've shown a current flowing from the output node into ground, so it's minus. So if I want to increase the voltage gain, what can I do? There are two options in your hand. You can play around with two parameters. You can either increase R out or you can increase GM. So there are two options. I can either increase R out or I can increase GM also. If I can increase GM, I can do both. Either of the options are going to give me a very high voltage gain. So let's take a circuit like this first. So what I have done here is I have cascaded N common source amplifiers. Assume they are all identical common source amplifiers. I have cascaded N common source amplifiers. What is the looking in impedance here? What is the impedance looking in here? Now I'm looking into the gate. Infinity, right? I'm looking into the gate. So infinity. At every stage it is infinity. So now let's assume R0 is the output resistance. What is the voltage gain? Let's call this as VO1. What will be VO1 in terms of VI? The first stage gain in terms of VI. Assume R0 is the output resistance, GM is the transconductance. What will be the first stage voltage gain? Minus GM R0, right? The first stage voltage gain will be minus GM R0. So now, what will be the second stage voltage gain? Can you tell me VO2 by VI? What will be that? The second stage voltage gain? Minus GM R0 into minus GM R0. So it will be GM R0 the whole square. It will be GM R0 whole square. So if I cascade n such stages, then the overall resistance is going to be, my overall voltage gain is going to be minus of GM R0 the whole power n. So minus will be inside. So it will be minus of GM R0 the whole power n. So now what I'll do is I'll try to draw an equivalent Norton circuit for this entire amplifier. We'll try to find the short circuit transconductance and the output resistance. So how do you measure short circuit transconductance? The way in which you measure short circuit transconductance is you short circuit the output node and try to measure this current I out. So can you tell me what will the short circuit current be? There are n such stages, 1, 2, 3 till n. So for that I need to find the gate voltage of the nth transistor. So what is the gate voltage of the nth transistor? See here, the previous drain is connected. What is the gate voltage of the nth transistor? Input is applied here. The first stage it is GM R0 into VI. Second stage it is GM R0 the whole square. Third stage, it will, output of third stage will be GM R0 whole cube and so on. So it will be minus of GM R0 the whole power n minus 1 times VI. That is your voltage at this point. So your I out, can I say, will just be GM times this. Of course, the sign is, I'm showing sign this way. So let's assume I out is GM times this. That's your, so your short circuit transconductance, can I say your GM is nothing but minus of GM R0 into Gm. Minus of Gm or not whole power n minus 1 into Gm. That's your short circuit transconductance. Now, what is your output resistance? Output resistance is something that I have to measure at this point. So I'll erase this. So output resistance is something that I'll have to measure at this point. This is R out. Look, I have to ground the input. So if I ground short circuit the input, can I say VO1 is also at ground? Because if there is no input, this is also at ground. If VO1 is at ground, VO2 is also at AC ground, and so on. This gate is also at AC ground. If this gate is at AC ground, what is the output resistance? I'm looking into the drain of the last transistor. Gate is at AC ground, source is at AC ground, it is R0 itself. So R out is R0. So now if you see the product of Gm into R out, I get minus of Gm R0 the whole power n. Okay, so there is a minus sign here. So minus of Gm R0 the whole power n. This is the expression for the voltage gain. Now if I see what did I accomplish by cascading n such amplifiers, is that what did I accomplish here is that I have actually attained a really large voltage gain. Okay. Yes, if you're, one of you are asking if the source, obviously. So if you're take a MOS device, ground the source, ground the gate, and you're looking into the drain terminal, you'll get a resistance of value or not. Yeah. So now what we have accomplished by this structure, of course, we are getting a really large gain. But how are we getting that large gain? We are getting it by increasing your short circuit transconductance. That's the way we are increasing the gain. R0, look at this, R0 at every stage. See, you keep on adding the number of stages. If I ask you, what is the output resistance at each, what is the R0 at this point? Yeah, shorting inputs means grounding, right? If you're going to short circuit the input, I'm making it to ground, yeah. So what is the input resistance at the first stage? What is the input resistance? R0 again. And what is the input resistance at the second stage? That is also R0. And the third stage, again, it's R0. At every stage, even if you keep on adding stage by stage, the output resistance remains the same. R out is still R0, R0, R0. But the short circuit transconductance keeps increasing exponentially. I mean, when I say exponentially, it's increasing to the power of n minus 1. It keeps increasing. But R out remains the same. So that's how we accomplish a very high voltage gain using a cascade of n such common source amplifiers. Okay, that's, yeah. So when we discuss about frequency response, I'll say that I'll show you an advantage of a different architecture. So, but right now we are just comparing it from low frequency point of view. So next we'll look at another architecture. Let's take a cascade of two structures like this. I'm taking a cascode, which is a common source, common gate. Cascode this way. So first we'll try to find out what is the short circuit transconductance. How do you find? You short circuit the output and try to measure the current which is going to flow at the output. If I apply a voltage here, so look at this transistor here, so I'll just draw it here. So if you apply a voltage Vi between gate and source, it generates current GMVI between drain to source. If you put a common gate amplifier, what does common gate amplifier do? It behaves like a current buffer. So whatever input current, so if you fed an input current of GMVI, the drain current will also be exactly same, right? Because source current is same as drain current. Approximately, I can say this current is also GMVI. So what is the short circuit transconductance GM in the circuit? GM itself. Now, let's assume that, okay, so let me probably find, yeah. So let me find R out now. Now I'm going to find out output resistance of this structure, which is a cascade of common source and common gate. We found out the short circuit transconductance is GM. Now I'm cascading the two here, two structures, a common source and a common gate amplifier, and you're supposed to find the output resistance seen into the drain of this terminal. How do you find that? Short circuit the input. If you short circuit the input, what will be your output resistance? Tell me the approximate result for output resistance here. So whatever resistance is connected at the source terminal, that multiplied by GM R naught. Yes, its exact expression is R naught plus 1 plus GM R naught into R naught. But you can approximate it. If let's say you have a resistance here, whatever resistance you have at the source terminal, multiply it by GM R naught at this point. So it will be GM R naught times R naught. So your total voltage gain is GM into R naught. So you will get minus of GM R naught the whole square. Now if you see, by cascading these two amplifiers, I have kept the transconductance same. GM is same. That's not changing. But what is changing here is R out. R out is increasing. So now let's consider three structures like this. A cascade of three such devices. First stage is common gate, so common source, then common gate, common gate. Now when I cascade three such amplifiers, what will I get? If I apply Vi at the first stage, then you will have a current GMVI flowing here. What is the current flowing in the second transistor here at the drain of the second device? What will be that? Can I say that will also be GMVI because it's a common gate? And what about the current at the output here? Well, what will this current be? So what will be the current flowing at the output here? That's same, right? Because it's just a common gate device. That is again a common gate. So that will also be GMVI. In fact, we can keep on cascading common gate amplifiers, n such common gate amplifiers. I'll keep cascading n-1 such common gate amplifiers. And if I try to measure the short circuit transconductance, it will only depend upon this transistor. Because common gate is just going to behave like a current buffer. Whatever current it receives at the input, it's going to transmit the same current at the output. So that's the behavior of a common gate. So if I transmit a current GMVI here, the same current is going to come at the output here as well. So the short circuit transconductance GM, even if you add n such stages, including this, the first stage, it will always be GM. In this configuration, it will always be GM. But now let's look at what happens to the output resistance. Okay, I'm now going to first, when you find the output resistance, I will short circuit the input here. Yes, the first one is common source, the rest of them are common gate, yes. Now I'm going to look at the drain terminal here, ignore the upper part. If you ignore the upper part, what will be the resistance at this point? The first transistor, I'm looking into the drain of the first transistor, it will be R0. It will be R0. Now let's look at the second transistor. Approximately, what will be the output resistance at the second transistor? Whatever resistance was here, R0 multiplied by GM-R0. That will be the resistance at the second terminal. Now, what will be the resistance at the third terminal here? Take this resistance, which is GM-R0 into R0, multiply this by GM-R0. So you will get GM-R0 whole square into R0. So if you had n such stages, let's assume that you have n such stages. So the first stage you have R0, second stage you have GM-R0 into R0. At the third stage you have GM-R0 whole square into R0. At the nth stage, what do you think will be your output resistance? Look at this, I can write this as GM-R0 whole power 0 into R0. It will be GM-R0 the whole power n minus 1 times R0. So the total resistance, output resistance, as you increase the number of stages, it's going to increase exponentially. It's GM-R0 whole power n minus 1 into R0. But your short circuit transconductance remains the same. GM remains the same, but your output resistance just keeps increasing exponentially with the number of stages. And the overall voltage gain, GM into R out, is going to be minus of GM R0, the whole power n minus 1. So multiply with minus GM into R out, so you will get minus of GM of R0 whole power n. So this is how you get a very high voltage gain using a cascode configuration. So this structure, this representation is what we call as a telescopic cascode. So as you keep stacking one device on top of each other, okay, it's called as a telescopic cascode. Okay, so I'll discuss about, so what I've shown here, it's also called totem pole. So it resembles a totem pole. So it's a pole made of a stack of totems. So totems are symbols that sometimes some tribal or native or aboriginal races would have. So sometimes it represents probably a cultural status of the society. So a totem pole is essentially that you stack one symbol after the other in a totem pole structure. So a cascode amplifiers look like that. Our cascode amplifiers could current source. We'll come to that. We'll come to current sources in the next lectures. I'll talk about it then. Okay, so that's how we attain high voltage gain using the cascode amplifiers. So what have we discussed and learned so far? I'll just quickly summarize, because if you understood this, it's a very simple idea to understand. There is nothing much complicated here. So the idea of cascode amplifiers was introduced in 1920s. At that time, the motivation was to solve the problem of high frequency signal amplification. We said that we had a capacitance, a parasitic capacitance between gate and drain that appears as a really large capacitance at the input given by 1 plus A into Rs. Because of this, what will happen is the large capacitance means large time constant. Whenever you have large time constants, your amplifiers will be slow. I used the word slow. Okay, so I gave you an example to understand time constant. I said that if you go to, when you go to a doctor and the doctor measures temperature using thermometer, a thermometer is a simple first order system, because the liquid in the thermometer should attain the same temperature as your body. Then it will measure it accurately, then it will raise, and then it'll come to the final temperature properly. Okay, so for that to attain the temperature, it takes some time. So okay, the equilibrium has to be established between your body and the thermometer, and then the thermometer will attain, the liquid will raise to a certain temperature indicating what is your body temperature. But the doctor will wait for some time for it to come to that steady state. Wait for some time. That's your time constant for a thermometer. Okay, so I'm giving an example. So similarly, if you look at analog circuits from voltages point of view, you are applying some signal. Let's say you apply a sine wave here. Ideally, you would expect the same sine wave here as well. But what is happening here, if this node voltage is a sine wave, it means the capacitance is getting charged. Okay, your capacitance is getting charged. But now if you have a resistor, the capacitor is going to take some time to get charged. Now, because it's going to take some time to get charged, if you apply a very high frequency sine wave, before it is fully charged, input has reversed its sign, so it will be discharged. It will not be able to fully raise to the input signal levels on either directions. So therefore, it will look like an attenuated or a smaller version of the input signal. Okay, yes. So one of you asked, will making RS small? Yes, of course it will help. Keeping RS small will definitely help. But the problem is, the problem arises because RS is not small. If your source is a weak source, if your voltage source happens to be a weak source, what do I mean by a weak source? A source which doesn't have much power delivering capacity. But we don't have much control over RS, no. See, if let's say RS is an issue, from your basic knowledge of circuit theory so far, can you tell me how can you fix the problem of RS? What can you do? We have discussed, right? So many amplifier configurations. Voltage buffer. Remember, we discussed common drain amplifiers. You can introduce a common drain amplifier in between. Is that fine? A common drain amplifier, voltage followers in between, that will also help. But yes, but this was a different application. So a cascode helps you to do that without going for a common drain. So we said this problem is fixed if you go for a cascode configuration. So that's how the genesis of cascode happened. So by going for a cascode configuration, we could reduce the multiplied capacitance to just 2C. from C into 1 plus A, which if A is very large, it will be a really large capacitance. But from that, we could just reduce it to just a value of 2C. Because it's less capacitance, time constant is less, therefore, this could amplify very high frequency signals. The voltage gain is the same. Voltage gain is same for both minus GMRL here and minus GMRL here as well. But the difference comes in the bandwidth, the speed. This can amplify high frequency signals. Then I discussed this is the genesis of Cascode. Even today, in some very specific applications, in microwave applications, we do use this from this point of view, what I just discussed. We do use it in that way. Cascode amplifiers are still used for reasons what I just discussed right now. Okay, but inside integrated circuits, when I say integrated circuits, because once you go to op-amp design, you will appreciate much better what I discussed right now, which is GM into R out. I said any MOS amplifier gain can be expressed as short circuit transconductance multiplied by output resistance. Now in that, if I want to increase gain, then I can increase GM or I can increase R out. I showed you that Cascode amplifiers by default are amplifiers which keep GM same, but they just increase R out significantly. But yes, there are some disadvantages with both of them. There are some disadvantages by just keep stacking more and more devices. I'll probably discuss it in brief detail in the next class. And probably we'll also introduce you to a problem of current source. What is a current source and how will we design a current source? That will be the topic of discussion for the next few lectures. Okay, I'll just leave you with one thought. I said that what does a cascode amplifier do? A cascode amplifier gives you a very high voltage gain by increasing your output resistance significantly. Which means if I want to use a cascode amplifier as an amplifier, can I connect any load resistance? Can you comment on what kind of load resistance can I connect? So the voltage gain, if I connect, so this is GM times VI, and you have R out in parallel. RL is going to appear in parallel to that. Okay. Now, can I connect any resistance? What should be the nature of RL? If I want to get good amplification out of a cascode amplifier, what should be the nature of RL? Look at the question. I need good amplification. I need good amplification. So therefore, load resistance has to be much higher. It has to be much greater than, it has to be much greater than R out, or it should be comparable to R out. Okay, it should be comparable to R out. RL should be greater, not less than. You guys got it? RL has to be, otherwise you will not get voltage gain. Right? If let's assume RL is much smaller than R out. If RL is much smaller than R out, the voltage gain will be minus of GM into RL parallel R out, which will be RL itself. So it will be minus of GM RL itself. So that is why if you want good voltage gain out of a cascode amplifier, you need to have a really large load resistance. Load resistance has to be really large. The next question is, how do we design this large load resistance? Where do we get this large load resistance in integrated circuits? So that will be the topic of discussion for the next few lectures. Okay, so I'll stop at this point. So we can, I'll take the doubts. We can discuss about current sources and current source loads